I mean, I probably needed to look in the mirror, and just be like, dude, maybe you're fucked up.
All right, we're rolling. What's up, Edgar?
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
So, just start off with just introducing yourself, man. Your name, branch of service, and what job you did.
Okay. My name's Edgar Rios, and I did 8 years with the Army. I was an 11 Bravo, Combat Infantryman, and I did 5.5 years active duty, and then I finished up my year contract with 2.5 years at the National Guard.
Right on, man. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in La Puente in Hacienda Heights. When my parents first had us, they were in La Puente, and then like about at 6 or 7, we moved to Hacienda Heights, and then I was there till about 17, and then we moved back to La Puente Avocado Heights area.
Talk to me about what inspired you to go into the Army and what that experience was like for you going into that recruiter's office.
So growing up, I was pretty close to one of my brother-in-laws, who was an LAPD officer, and he was kind of guiding me towards being law enforcement. So freshman year in high school, right away I was in the Sheriff's Explorers, worked out of the City of Industry Station, and then hanging out with him and his buddies, all of them doing what they were doing. They were, people I looked up to. So most of them were all ex-military. So I just wanted to surprise them and be like, hey, dude, I joined the military too. So I went to a recruiter station and I was like, hey, man, I want to sign up. So I signed up with them. He told me, well, let's do like a little ASVAB practice test, see where you score. And based on my scores, he was like, hey, dude, well, you can do pretty much whatever you want. There's like computer engineering. I was like, no, dude, I want to do fighting. And he's like, well, like what kind of fighting? I'm like, I don't know, any kind of ground fighting. So he's like, all right, well, I guess you can sign up for 11 Bravo. So I signed away and I got an 11 Bravo contract.
Now, you were talking to me earlier about that experience of going into the recruiter's office. You were about not being sober. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was like 6 or 7 around the P. It was late afternoon, and yeah, I was drinking with some of my buddies, so I stumbled in there drunk, wanting to sign up, and then he's like, "Why don't you come back tomorrow when you're a little bit more sober and see if you still want to sign up?" So I still went back the next day and I signed up.
So talk to me a little bit about that, man. What was your experience, transitioning into the military?
So it wasn't really too much of a transition for me. Like I said, I was already kind of being structured to go into law enforcement, so I kind of already had like this idea of what I was gonna do. But of course, you never really know what you're gonna get into until you actually get into it. So it was, I don't know, kind of like a little head changer, but it wasn't something I couldn't handle, I guess.
Yeah. So you get in, you go to boot camp, right? Is our basic training?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go to basic training?
I went to Fort Benning, Georgia. It's infantry school out there.
Okay. And then you got what unit did you get dropped to after basic training?
So as soon as I got out of the basic training, they sent me to Fort Carson, Colorado, and I was attached to the 4th Infantry Division, 212th Battalion.
And then you got some tours under your belt, right?
Yeah, I did 2 tours to Afghanistan. So right when I got out of basic, it was like in the middle of March. I got sent right to Colorado, and as soon as I got to Colorado, they're like, hey man, don't even bother unpacking your bags. Like, just put them in your room, and then somebody will talk to you about it. And I got to my room, dropped off my bags, and they're like, hey dude, we're getting deployed in June. So that was it. I mean, pretty much after that, let's see, on Tuesday I had a report, so we went to go do a little bit of some ranges. And then it was like Thursday came, we're like, hey, we have a 4-day weekend again. So it was like, all right, hang out. And it was like, hey, back on Tuesday, another 4-day weekend that Thursday. And then it was like, hey, you guys are going to go on leave. So right away I went home for 2 weeks, and then kind of really didn't know what I was doing, just hanging out at home, partying with everybody here. Um, then I went back to my unit. It was like the last couple weeks of April. And then they're like, hey, we're leaving like in less than a month. So we did a couple more range days just to try to break me in because I had just gotten out of basic training. And then next thing I know, I'm throwing all my boxes, my bags in Connex boxes, and I never unpacked. Next thing I know, I'm flying out of Colorado Springs to Canada. And then from Canada, I'm going over to Ireland. And then Ireland to Kazakhstan, and then Kazakhstan to Bagram. Bagram to Jalalabad, and then we took a couple of Chinooks over to our combat outpost.
While you're going through basic training, did you have an idea that you might find yourself in war?
I mean, when we were going through basic, everybody was kind of like, fuck yeah, we might go to war, but you don't really think like, oh fuck, I'm actually gonna go to war. So, no, I didn't even know where I was going until the end of basic training either. So, it was a surprise.
So you ended up going to Afghanistan, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? What was your entry into Afghanistan like, and where did you end up?
Well, so it's pretty cool because once we were in Jalalabad, they were going to get ready to send us out on flight line. So they were sending out, I don't know, probably like 20 to 30 guys at a time. But it wasn't like the whole platoon. It was 20 or 30 guys that were going to that combat outpost. So I remember it was like like 10 o'clock at night one day, and they're like, hey man, you're going to be on the next flight out to your combat outpost. And they're like, all right, get on the flight line, get all your stuff. So we're out there waiting, and then the Chinooks finally show up. We load up, and right away they throw our bags in there. They tie them down in the middle. Everybody takes a seat. You got your rifle and stuff, You actually have live rounds now. You got magazines and stuff. You're like, okay, we're actually going to our combat zone. And we take off, and we're just flying for like 30 minutes. And then they're like, hey, we're almost approaching. You guys are going to go into a hot zone. Like, as soon as you guys land, fucking exfil that helicopter, do your freaking half moons, and then take a knee or get in the prone. So I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, fuck, I'm going to a war zone, So I don't know if these guys did it to fucking scare us or what, but we start flying map of the earth, and these guys are going through every little terrain, and we finally get towards where we're gonna land, and the fucking door gunners just start fucking opening up. Boom, 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 boom. Fuck. I'm like, holy shit, like what the fuck's going on? We're like, okay, maybe they're just fucking trying to show off or something. I don't know. I never found out what happened, but that was like, hey, here's your cherry, and it just got popped. You're about to land in a real fucking combat zone. Helicopters land, fucking just try not to trip over yourself. You run out. We did the half moon. We lay down in the fucking prone, and then they fucking called a couple guys to go up in the middle, and then bags were just flying out of the helicopter. And like 5 minutes into that, fucking helicopters kick up. You got dust all over your face. You have no idea where you're at. Helicopter took off, and then they're like, everybody fucking straight line, follow us. And next thing I knew, I went into my fucking bedroom. That was going to be my bedroom for the next 11 months.
And what was the living conditions like?
So they sucked, but I mean, it was a combat zone. So basically, we had hooches built. Like, it was just like a fucking 4-car garage, just made out of wood. And we had Hescos. They were just like metal cages filled up with sand and dirt. And they were just lined up on the side of the walls of the hooches. So we had them all like in a row. Kind of looked like a bay area. And then they had the roofs filled up with sandbags just in case we took like RPG or mortar fire. And then inside it was just a big open area. And they had like maybe 4 or 5 bunk beds. And it was like 2 guys to a bunk. So I mean, everybody just had their stuff underneath their bunks. The guy on the top had his stuff underneath your bunk. You guys split it fucking 50-50, and we had nails and hooks on the side of the walls wherever you were at, and that's where you hung your gear, your body armor, and your rifles. But for the most part, everybody kind of slept with their rifles, but everything else that you had, because we had extra equipment, was all on the walls like 2 feet away from you.
It was a pretty. You were telling me how it was a pretty active outpost, right? How often would you guys get in fights out there?
So where I was at, I was in the mouth of the Korengal, so our job was to guard that Korengal opening. So just like based on where we were at, we were averaging 1 to 2 firefights a day. I mean, we went like a day or two without firefighting, but then we'd get into like 3 or 4 firefights 2-3 days later. So yeah, we were averaging a lot of firefights. And they went from like a 2-second freaking, they just sprayed on us, and we sprayed fucking Browns back and called in a couple mortars to, we're out there for like a couple hours harassing fire and then just shooting back. And it's kind of like, fuck, when are they going to stop? Like, how do these guys still have ammo?
What kind of do you recall, like, maybe after your first time getting some trigger time, and it really feel like it, knowing that you're like, this is fucking war. Do you recall like your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have a really funny story about that. So again, I was new to my unit. I'm new to my platoon. I didn't really have too much time to train with them. So when we first got into our sector and area, they already had the guys that they knew who was going to do what. So I was one of the newer guys on the first patrol that they went out. It was this thing called the right seat, left seat. So the unit that was there that we were replacing, they went out with our unit to kind of go show them the ropes. Like, hey, this is where we go. This is what we do here. Don't go over there. Don't do that. Don't talk to those people. So since I was kind of really new and I wasn't really too familiar with my platoon, they left me behind on tower guard. And that day I had a gate guard. So I was all the way on the like east side of the compound. So when I was over there, our platoon left, and they went down to whatever village they were going to go that day. And I was up there by myself, and I mean, basic training, you go over basic stuff. And I don't remember everything I had to do, but we had sectors of fire, right? So I was in the gate, and my sector of the fire was basically the gate. This is your sector of fire, and fucking don't shoot anywhere else. But at the time, I wasn't too familiar with all of that. Nobody really explained or gave me classes on everything. So I have a 240, 200 round belt fucking attached to it. And, I'm chilling there fucking watching the gate, just thinking like, man, I wish I could have gone out, on patrol with the guys, but I'm stuck here fucking doing gate guard. I'm like, whatever. So I'm just fucking sitting there bored as shit. My platoon's out doing fucking cool stuff, I guess. And we start getting shot at, the combat outpost. It starts taking rounds from the west. And again, I'm at the front gate in the east, and so nobody's fucking shooting back. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I go to the back door and I open it, and I'm looking, and I'm like, dude, they're fucking shooting from up there. I can see the flashing. And I'm like, why is nobody shooting back? So I'm like, cherry, dude. I'm fucking young. I'm green, super green. I'm like, dude, nobody's fucking shooting back. We're getting shot at. Fuck these guys. So I grab a chair, fucking take it to the back door. I plop my chair and I'm setting it up. And, this is the first time I've ever gotten shot at like this. So I take my 240 and I grab the belt. And I fucking put the bipod down. I'm setting up. So I take a knee because the chair is a little short. I fucking look through my sights and I see the flashing, and I'm like, all right, here goes. And I fucking start shooting. I'm like, da, 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 da. And I remember my rates of fire, so I'm sending 4 to 5 rounds at a time, fucking just in, controlled bursts. And I'm shooting and I'm shooting, and like fucking 2 minutes go by, and I keep hearing the radio going off, but I'm like, fuck this, I'm engaged right now. So next thing I see is fucking people running towards me. It's like the commander that was in charge at the time from another unit, my commander, my first sergeant, and the TOC officer. And they're all running towards me, and they're fucking going, cease fire, cease fire. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I ceased fire, I moved the fucking rifle back, and I fucking put it over there. They come inside, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fucking shooting back. And they're like, but that's not your sector. And I'm like, oh yeah, but nobody else was shooting. They're like, dude, when your fucking platoon gets back, I want to see you, your platoon sergeant, your platoon leader, your squad leader, and your team leader. I'm like, okay. I'm like, fuck, I'm in trouble, dude. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, all right. So whatever, I'm fucking sitting up there, and I'm like, I'm going to get fucking fired. Like, what did I do, dude? Like, what did I do? Fucking an hour or two passes by, the platoon comes back in, and they're driving in through the gate, and fucking the platoon leader and the platoon sergeant get off the truck, and they fucking threw 2 other privates up, and they replaced me, and they're like, come with me now. Go fucking wait in your room. I'm like, all right. So I go wait in my room, and I'm fucking sitting there like, dude, I'm fucking fired. Like, what did I do? And the other guys are like, what the fuck did you do? I was like, dude, I don't know. We got into a shootout, and I was shooting back. And they're like, oh, dude, you're not supposed to shoot over there. You got your own sector of fire. You can't fucking shoot over the cop. And I was like, well, why not? I was like, I knew where I was shooting at. Like, dude, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're fucking crossing sectors, and that's what people get hurt. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I guess I fucked up. Like, 30 minutes go by, and then fucking, I'm sitting there without my gear on. I'm just fucking like, dude, I'm in trouble. And my platoon sergeant finally comes in. He fucking opens the door. And he has a sheet of paper on him, and he has it rolled up in a fucking roll. He's like, all right, you're going to have a class on sectors of fire today. I'm like, all right. He's like, congratulations. You're the first one in the platoon to get your Combat Infantry Badge. And he gave me a sheet of paper with orders from the commander saying that I was the first one to be engaged in the platoon and firing back. So I was the first one in the platoon to get a CIB.
Oh, man. Oh, that was breaking your cherry right there, huh?
That was a good one.
So, any specific missions you want to talk to me about? Earlier, you're telling me some fucking wild stories. Talk to me about that.
So there was we did a lot of fun missions. They're fun now. Now that we're back and we're okay, but at the time they were kind of creepy. So we had one mission. We didn't know what it was. They were just like, get your stuff ready and prepare for it. And we're like, all right. So a couple weeks before that, where I was at was in the Patch River Valley. So I was like pretty close to the border of Pakistan, towards the northern part of Afghanistan. And on the other side of a mountain that was separating us was a Marine AO, area of operations. And so I guess a couple of them had gotten killed or something like that. And the Afghanis had kept the bodies and stuff. So somebody like spun up a mission to go fucking retrieve the bodies and stuff. So then, we're down there where I was at, and they're like, oh, get your stuff ready. So we got all our stuff ready and our gear, and then finally they came and gave us like a sit rep, and they're like, hey, dude, so like a special operations unit's about to come in, and they're going to go retrieve bodies and stuff. And we're like, okay, cool. So they're like, your guys' job is to go provide security for them down the road. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, next thing you know, we hear the helicopters land, and they're like, all right, fucking get ready, let's go. So the Chinooks landed and fucking dropped off like a shitload of fucking special operations guys. And then we started going out. We went down the street. Went down like about a mile or two away from our base. And we set up security so these guys can go up the mountain and do whatever they had to do. So I remember we were like about an hour in, and I guess they got to wherever they were going, because then you could start fucking hearing the helicopters and Chinooks and fucking the AC-130s going off, and you just hear a bunch of ruckus going off in the mountain. We're like, dude, these guys are fucking shit up. We're like, fuck, that's cool, So a couple hours go by. I guess they did whatever they had to do, and then they make their way down, and they're like, hey, we need you guys to go across this bridge on the other side of the river and exfil down that way to provide security. And so we're like, okay. So we went across that little bridge. We're starting to move down, and we're pretty close to where our base is at. Our base is like within sight on the other side of the river. And they're like, hey, dude, we just got intel that there's like 3 to 5 man team set up on you guys at the bazaar. So, heads up with that. And we're like, fuck, okay. So we're trying to figure out, like what's the best way to avoid that, or how to take on, that whole situation. I guess our PL or platoon sergeant was like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just fucking cross the river? So somebody like figured out the best part to cross through the river, and they found this best spot. So we're like, okay. So we start getting into kind of like a single file line, but kind of spread out a little bit. And I was like the second or third guy from the rear, and I was a Mark 48 gunner. So that's like it's a machine gun. It's the size of a saw, but it shoots 7.62 rounds. So it's pretty heavy. It's a fucking pretty solid rifle. So again, I was like second or third guy, and everybody's crossing, and we get to the river, and like it's at my ankles now, and I'm walking. All of a sudden, I take a little dive. It's like about at my thighs, and then I keep walking, and fuck, next thing I know, I'm fucking seeing the guy in front of me underneath the water. I'm under the water, and I'm just seeing him. I'm like, okay, he's still walking. I can keep walking. So we're walking across. I get across, and I'm trying to look back to see who's behind me, and I see the guy behind me. And then probably like 40, 50 feet more, and then I'm out. Like, it's up to my chest. I keep going. It's at my waist, and like I fucking hear somebody in the background like, help me. Help me. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So like I turn around, and this fucking guy, the river, he's like 20 feet away from me, is just taking him. And he's trying to get up, but he can't because he keeps slipping like on the slime, on the algae and stuff from the river.
Yeah.
And his bag's not helping, so he's just getting pushed down, and fuck, dude, I couldn't hold it, man. I started fucking laughing. I was just laughing my ass off, like, fucking guy, dude. So I'm cracking up, I finally get out, I turn around, I take a knee, and we're all telling this guy, like, shut the fuck up, Like, there's supposedly guys over there, so he's fucking, he doesn't give a shit, dude. He just doesn't want to drown, right? And he's like, help me, fuck you guys, help me. And finally, like, 2 guys are like, all right, we got to go help this retard. So they take off their body armor, they throw their fucking rifles on the ground, and take their shit off, and they fucking run towards him, and they try to help him out. And it's slippery, man. I mean, I don't think anybody really crosses that river, so nothing's been disturbed. So there's algae everywhere. These guys are just slipping, trying to help this guy out. They finally get him out. They roll him over, and then fucking RPL's like, dude, get a fucking head count, a weapons count. Make sure you guys have everything you guys came out with. So we're counting, fucking 1 guy, 2 guy, 3 guy, fucking. Counting, and we fucking come up, and we're like, hey, dude, we're a fucking guy short. They're like, well, who's the guy missing? We find out it's this fucking dude. Well, he's across. We start looking all over the place, and we finally look across on the other side of the river, and we see this fucking guy over there just fucking going like, hey. We're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing over there? He's like, fuck that, I got scared. And we're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, really? And he's like, fuck you guys, I'm not crossing the river. So, the PL's like, dude, we're not going to fucking send guys back over there and come back across. Like, we almost lost 1 guy. So he's finally said, fuck it. He spun up the other platoon that was at our cop, and they finally rolled out in 4 trucks with fucking heavy weapons and shit, and they went across the river, and they fucking threw his ass in the truck, and they came back, and nothing ever happened, but it's just crazy.
Man, he had to catch heat forever after that, huh?
Yeah, nobody ever let it down. But it's just one of those funny times that you have in a war zone, I guess.
Oh man. So yeah, how long were you out there in Afghanistan? Your first tour?
Yeah, so my first tour I did, it was a year-long tour, but I mean, I was only actually in theater for like 11 months, 10, 11 months. Just between June 2009 and June 2010.
So it was a pretty. It sounds like it was a pretty rough post, right? Like you guys, you know, a lot of fighting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty hot zone, but it was just because of where we were at. It was in the mouth of the Korengal, so ours was pretty active, and then the Korengal was fucking super active. But that was part of our mission was to provide some kind of disruption to the Korengal. So
Yeah. Did you ever become like callous to getting shot at? You know, like here we are again, just getting fucking shot at.
so after a while of being there, you start noticing how dangerous a shootout is. So yeah, you get kind of desensitized to stuff. There'll be days where it's just like, oh fuck, let me go get all my gear. Fucking everybody stand to, And then there was days where we're like, fuck that, dude. I'm not gonna fucking dirty my rifle. I just fucking cleaned it. Yeah, dude. It happens so often that you start kind of fucking reading it on your own. Like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Did you guys did you receive mail while you were out there?
Mail?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we received care packages. So it's pretty cool because I gave my mom at the time a power of attorney, so she can have access to my bank account. Because I didn't want her to spend her money like for stuff that I needed. So I'd message her like every month or 2 months, be like, "Hey, dude, I need socks, I need beef jerky, and fucking cigarettes. Put it on a package and fucking send it to me." So other people would send us stuff too. They'd be like, "Oh, can we send you, stuff?" So they'd send us care packages. We got a lot of like snacks and stuff. Just stuff we needed, socks and blankets.
Was there anything out there that like anything specific that got you through those days? Hard times.
Yeah, so we had kind of like a day off. I don't remember what day of the week it was. But we'd have a day off where basically you wake up in the morning and you tend to your trucks. So you work on your trucks, do whatever they need, restock the ammo, have the mechanics do the oil change if it needed it, clean the windows and stuff. And then when you were done with the trucks, you'd go to this armor shack where guys would clean their rifles. So we'd go there like, I don't know, a team at a time. So one team would go in there and everybody would clean off their rifles, for like an hour, just shooting the shit, kind of cleaning. And then we'd go back to our rooms and just kind of like, it's your day off, dude. You can do whatever you want after that. As long as the trucks got taken care of and your rifle and your weapons got taken care of, you had the rest of the day to yourself. So there's nothing really to do. But a couple of us had laptops, and I had a buddy of mine who used to send me like a little hard drive with movies, whatever was out. He'd download movies for us, and so he would send them over to us, and we'd have like movie nights, dude, on those days. Just kind of everybody together, just watching a movie, try to fucking feel normal, I guess.
Yeah, that's it's always good to have an outlet like that.
Yeah.
For me, it was mail, receiving mail. I was married at the time with kids and stuff, so every time you get a letter from your kid, or a little drawing, or a letter from the wife, it lifted your spirits for a little while.
It did. It make you feel normal for a little bit.
Yeah. So, what's it like, coming back from? What was it like coming back from your first tour like that?
So, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. Just coming back, you just gotta start trying to get used to stuff. Cause I mean, you're out there for a year, man, and I don't know, just try to normalize everything, I guess. Uh, I had like a lot of trouble sleeping, so I would just buy ZQL. It was like back when ZQL first came out, so it was fucking amazing. I would just buy ZQL and fucking drink it, a bottle probably, half a bottle every 2-3 days, just to go to sleep. Just because you have trouble sleeping, you know, you just fucking been through like, you know, like an eye-opening fucking experience of your life. So sleeping's kind of rough. And then just talking to people. Like I know a lot of my friends that I was really close with. They'd all like kind of like on the side note, like we'd be drinking and stuff. They'd be like, "Man, you're kind of different," you know. And it's like, well, I feel the same. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But I don't know. I don't know what they saw, but they'd be like, "Dude, you're different. Like you're a different person."
Are these your friends in the like civilian
Yeah,
world?
like friends that
Yeah.
I just grew up with from high school or middle
Yeah.
school. Just visiting them, and then, I mean, because when you're at wherever you're stationed at, or I was stationed in Colorado, you're hanging out with the same group of guys that are in your platoon, so those fuckers are different just as much as you, so they don't see the difference, you know?
Right. Right.
So, but it's when you go home and visit family and friends that they're like, you're a little different now. Like, they never said I was fucking crazy or anything, but, you know, they're like, you know, you're different. You're definitely different.
Yeah. Um, but then you went. So when you get back from your first tour, you get some time to go back home on leave.
Yeah, so you get back from your tour, and like I said, not everybody gets back at the same time. They'll send back like 10 guys at a time, and it's 10 guys again that are like in the combat outpost. It's not all 10 guys from your platoon. So they break it down like that because at the same time that you guys are leaving, other guys from the next unit that are going to replace you are going to be there, and you guys still have to show them now what you guys did and what not to do and where not to go. So by the time I got back to Colorado, I still had guys coming back from Afghanistan. So we were in Colorado probably for like a month before everybody got back. And then finally they're like, all right, the unit's all together again. Leave starts this day and you guys come back in fucking, I don't know, I think it was like 20 days. So after about a month of being back in the States, they finally let you go back to your hometown. And then that's when you go back to your hometown. But you go back, you know, you have kind of like a chip on your shoulder, like, fuck yeah, I was in a combat zone. So I didn't like, wasn't like getting to my head or anything, but, you know, I would just be at home kind of like feeling like, yeah, man, I did something,
Yeah.
you know?
How long? How long was it before you had to head out to your second tour?
So we got back in 2010 and then we had 2 years of training. So in 2012, I was in fucking Afghanistan again. So yeah, it was, 2 years. All of the rest of 2010 and most of all of 2011. I was all training again to go back. And then I think February we started shipping out to Afghanistan. And then I think I left like in March. And I remember I came back the 22nd of December because right as soon as I got back home, like I literally went home and it was Christmas. So that was pretty cool for my parents and like my family members. But
And did you end up back at the same outpost, or was it? What was that? What was your experience like the second time?
so my second tour was pretty hot, but it was different. Our second tour, my second tour, it was more leaning towards turning it over to the Afghani military. So the first 6 months of my tour, because my second tour it was only a 9-month tour. Our second tour, the first 6 months were like, hey, you guys are like the main fucking spear of the sword, and the last 3 months it was like, hey, you guys are just backup. These guys gotta fucking take over their own country. So we'd go out our first tour, same shit, just fucking firefights all the time. But what was crazy was we started giving it back towards them, so it would be like we'd go out with them sometimes to the point where we were not going out unless they needed us. So every time they went out, they fucking needed us because I don't know what was wrong with them. But they were getting fucked up, so all the time they'd fucking spin us up like, hey, get your shit in the truck, we gotta go fucking help them out. So it got hot like that because we'd always have to go out on QRF, which stands for Quick Reaction Force. So we'd go out there all the time, but there was a couple of times where it was very, very, like, fuck, dude, I don't know how the hell these guys survived. But they'd start planning fucking little fucking tricks on them, and these guys would fall for it every fucking time. But that was my second tour.
What was it like transitioning out of the Army for you, man?
So, uh, so right when I was getting ready to get out, because I had to extend active duty to go to my second tour. And the only reason why I extended was because I was training with them for 2 years. And by then I was already their fucking squad leader. I had my own team, my own squad. And I was like, fuck, man, like I've been practicing with these guys this whole time. And then they're going to deploy and then I'm going to go start getting ready to go home. So now they're going to get a complete new guy. So I'm like, nah. So I extended. So right when I got back from Afghanistan, my second tour, I literally had 3 months and then I was out. So part of it was going to some fucking classes where they try to teach you how to be like a fucking civilian. They start signing you up to like LinkedIn and fucking create this profile because that's the only way you can get a job. You got to go to these fucking courses and classes. It's a bunch of weird stuff that they make you do. And so I had to do it. So as soon as I got back, I just started fucking going to those classes, and I was no longer really training with anybody in my platoon. And I thought, okay, so time finally hit, and I came home, and it's like I had like 10 grand saved up, and 10 grand was a lot of money to me. So I'm like, all right, so I got 10 grand. So I go home, and I moved back in with my parents, and fuck, like 2 months go by, and I'm like just burning through this money. I'm like, oh fuck, I need to get a job. So I'm like, okay, well, what do I gotta do? So I start getting stupid jobs. Like I start working like at fucking CarMax and I think I was like trying to sell cars and stuff. And I mean it was cool and all, but I was just drinking a lot and hanging out and like partying. So it's kind of like getting out of high school or college, or you're like done with something and you just want to party. So I was doing that, but I was fucking burning through money like crazy. And I'm like, man, 10 grand isn't shit. So I started working, like I said, at CarMax, and I'm trying to just be like normal around my friends, but you start talking to people, and they're just fucking doing regular stuff, and you start kind of feeling like kind of weird around them, like, man, fuck this guy. This guy's an idiot, or fuck this and fuck that, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on with you? Like, what's going on? So it was kind of hard adapting. Just I don't know, just putting yourself in other people's shoes. Like, why do people think like that? And I mean, I probably needed to look in the mirror, and just be like, dude, maybe you're fucked up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everybody I looked at and was around.
Did
crazy.
Did the combat experience catch up to you at all? Did it affect you in any way, getting out?
So it's kind of hard not to say that it hasn't, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens, right? So like, I get fucking. At first, I was getting really bad nightmares. I was doing a lot of fucking night sweats, night terrors, and stuff. And then, at the time, I was married. My wife at the time made me go get marriage counseling and then therapy. So I was getting marriage counseling for like about a month, and then 2 weeks into that, I started doing my own personal therapy, and my therapist was just like, "Hey, dude, like you really shouldn't be married. Like, this not you're not at a point where you need to be married." So I explained to her that that's what my therapist was saying, and I guess she was getting her own therapy, and they told her the same thing, that you shouldn't be married to him. So we both agreed, and we got just divorced. But then I got my personal therapist. I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. So I just stopped going after 2 weeks, and I only did one session a week, so I really only saw him twice. And well, that was it, man. I never wanted to go get help again. Other than that, I just dealt with shit on my own. Just kind of bottled stuff up. Mope around whenever you're alone and fucking drink a lot. I guess just self-medicate.
Yeah. Is there anything that you do now today to try to cope with all that, with all those symptoms?
So no, I mean, I just drink a lot, dude. I drink a lot of beer. I'm always, I don't know, I just fucking find it hard to have a good time without drinking. But it's a little different because I have kids now, right, with my wife now. It's different. I did get sick. I don't know how it happened, but I was getting kind of like anxiety attacks. I was fucking panicking. I felt like I was having heart attacks. So I went to the hospital. I went to Whittier Hospital like 3 times. And finally, one of the doctors there was like, "Hey, dude, look, I was a PA in the military." He's like, "Did you ever serve in the military and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I served." And he's like, "Have you ever been in a combat zone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I went to Afghanistan twice." And then he's like, "Dude, you need to go seek therapy. You're suffering from something. These are panic attacks." And so, I was like, "Fuck, man, like, are you serious? Like, am I suffering from this shit?" It's kind of hard to admit, but the symptoms are all there, man. I mean, you wake up in the middle of the night covered in sweat. Fucking during the day, you'll just be sitting there and you're like, "Dude, I'm having a fucking heart attack. Like, what the hell's going on?" Your arm goes numb. You're like, "My fingers are tingling. I feel cold and clammy. Like, this is a heart attack. There's no way this is just fucking a panic attack." But, just fucking, you realize maybe it is all in your head. I don't know what happened, but I started feeling better, when you just kind of realize that, hey, man, like, I need to relax. Like, I'm at home. There's nothing else that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of like, my son was born, and then I'm like, dude, I got to be here for my son. Like, what's going on? Like, you need to get right. So you just kind of wake up, snap out of it, I guess. But, there's every once in a great while you catch yourself. You have a fucking pretty crazy dream, and it's always the same fucking shit where, like, something's happening and you're helpless. You can't either don't have a fucking gun, or you can't move your arms, or you feel pinned down. Like, but I don't know, I guess it's just been kind of slowly tapering away over time.
Well, have you tried to get help through the VA, right?
Yeah, so I've gone to the VA and I've gotten disability ratings, and I got rated for PTSD and other like little shoulder stuff and knee stuff, but I have gone out to try to like get VA help. This VA is kind of like slow, very slow step in helping people out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here, man, telling your story, Edgar. I'm getting ready to cut the tape, but, I'd like to give everyone an opportunity, if you have any last words you want to say, maybe any words of encouragement for somebody that might be in your position, or...
The only thing I can say to anybody that, I don't know, can relate to anything that I've said is, just actually, just man up and actually admit, some people need help.
Yeah, it's hard to admit sometimes, because you were a fucking big badass, 11 Bravo, and then it's kind of hard, and people look up to that. People, they recognize your experience and they respect you for it, and sometimes it makes you feel a little weak having to say that, it affects you, right?
Yeah. So that's, part of being a badass is saying, "Hey, man, I need help."
That's right. Well, hey, thanks for telling your story, Edgar. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for your service.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Thank you.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home.